Good evening. I'd like to call this meeting of the I Have Vision Committee to order, and may we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Dennehy. Absent. Councilmember Schmischer.
Here.
Councilmember B. Smith. Absent. Councilmember Stein.
Here.
Councilmember Tracy.
Here.
Councilmember Worthington.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Hamrick.
Here.
Mayor Smith. Absent.
Thank you for that.
Mayor Pro Tem Hamrick, I
Yes,
do have a message from Councilmember Dennehy. He will be arriving a few minutes late.
A few minutes late. Thank you very much. We'll make note of when he does join us. And tonight, we're going to be discussing two things, a well ordinance that council has referred to this committee for consideration, and also a tennis court conversion to pickleball. And so, Mr. Stevens, are you going to be leading those discussions, or?
Well, I think for the well ordinance, we'll pass it over to our superintendent, Travis Payne. This was originally, I think this came to City Council, was referred to Water Committee. Water Committee heard it and made their comments, and their version of the ordinance has been referred to City Council, which was referred to this meeting. I'll let Travis talk through the details of that.
Yep, that is correct. So this change in code just codifies a longstanding practice that's just really good common sense of not allowing any private well to have any kind of interconnection with our drinking water system. We have no idea what kind of water tests are happening on private wells, so it becomes a major cross-connection concern. Most of these houses would have cross-connection devices, but if they were ever to fail, then that water could be pulled into our water system. So we just want it codified so we have something very strong to point to if anybody ever argues that point. So that's kind of the background of it. The red line ordinance that you have in front of you, so I gave you a red line and a clean, and we can go through the red lines if you would like. It really just kind of clarifies what our intent is. It was not to say that any property owner could not have a well or anything like that. It just cannot be connected to the drinking water system or any house that has the drinking water system in it. They want to use it for an outhouse or irrigation or a number of other uses. That we don't care at all, and I think these red lines really clarify that really well.
Thank you. Yes.
I think it all sounds good. There was one, I think it's just a typo, in section 1F, the fourth line down, where the "and" has been deleted, and you can see this on the red line copy and on the final version, that the word "and" needs to be added back in, where it says no cross connection between the well system and the city's water system. So just a typo there, I think.
And that is true in J also.
Yes, thank you. It is in J also, the same language.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thanks so much, Mayor Pro Tem Hamrick. I just wanted to note how pleased I am that the Water Committee had a chance to take a look at this, to make the corrections that they saw necessary. I think it's fantastic that we have a Water Committee and that we have folks who are willing to kind of do this work, and the referrals back and forth, though time consuming, I think were worth it. My question is probably best left to the lawyers once they review it after Vision Committee, but I am just a little bit concerned that the first sentence of some of the paragraphs doesn't make it super clear that they're only required to disconnect private water wells that are connected to the city water system. I think it becomes more clear as you read the paragraph, but as it's currently written, I'm not entirely sure that distinction has been made. But again, I'm happy to leave it to the lawyers and their review after a Vision Committee meeting.
I'm not sure that language is quite right either, because they're not disconnecting a well from city water. They're just being prevented from connecting when they gain city water, right?
Yes, but if that condition does exist, that they are connected, we want them disconnected.
Yeah. Do we think we have anything like that?
No, but I've been surprised before.
Well, true,
Yeah,
true.
yeah. So
Things
I think it's
happen.
just trying to cover all bases.
Yeah, gotcha.
And I would just think, so right now, the first full sentence reads, when a property owner connects to the city's water system, the property owner is required to disconnect from any existing private water well. So I think we would just maybe want to add, from any existing private water well that is connected to the city's water system. It seems a little redundant,
Yeah.
but what the first clause is actually saying is that if a property owner connects to the city water system, and then it doesn't have that qualifier on the well. But again, happy to defer it to the lawyers.
Yeah, and I do think there is a problem with the wording in that first sentence. And just-
There's another way to do that. That's with the semicolon. Make it one sentence, and then it's clear. And then you don't have to do the verbal gymnastics to say it twice. So we'll look forward to the attorney's review.
Yeah, I'll email it off to the attorneys and have them review it, and I'll submit their comments or any red lines to the first reading,
Yeah.
assuming you guys want to
And
pass along.
just pass along to them that we think that first sentence in F and J is just not 100% clear with what's really intended.
Understood.
There's probably a lot of ways to do it, but I think even just the wording about when a property owner connects, what we're really talking about is a dwelling or whatever that is connecting. But anyway, as long as we can work on that.
I believe it is indeed, though, any connection to the city water system, this would become applicable to whether it's a commercial property or agricultural property or whatever,
Right.
not just a dwelling.
Yeah, that is correct. Our biggest concern is contamination of groundwater entering the city's closed-loop water system.
Okay, any further comments? Thank you for that, Travis. Short and sweet.
Like it.
And now we get to this, so do we all get to try out pickleball here tonight, or?
I highly recommend. It was very fun pre-council meeting.
It's great until you pull your damn hamstring.
We have our Parks Director, Rex Brady, here, and we have a citizen, Mrs. Peg Davidson, who would like to address council to talk about the potential for converting some tennis courts to pickleball courts. So
Miss-
I don't know who you want to hear from first, but
Let's hear the suggestion first, and then we'll hear reactions.
I'm just going to show you pickleball equipment.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know the.
Wait, there's three of us speaking, is that all right?
That's all right. We've got 3 microphones up there.
And we need one more to make a fourth to play the game.
And I have lots of equipment out in my car.
For City Clerk, if you wouldn't mind just stating your names into the record, that would be very
yeah,
helpful.
Thank
if
you.
just make sure you push the button and the green light is on for your microphones, please.
And get close enough to it that it'll
Oh, there we go.
pick you up. But Mrs. Davidson, if you'd like to start us off, that would
I
be
will.
great.
My name is Peg Davison, and I am the ambassador for pickleball in the Canyon City area. I'm also the co-chairman of the Canyon City Pickleball Association, along with Judy, she's the other co. And we want to thank you for letting us present tonight. In 2012, we asked you guys if we could paint pickleball lines on the north courts at Centennial Park, the north tennis courts, and you allowed us to. And then Judy and I, we advertised in the shopper that we would give free pickleball lessons. And within a year, we had overcrowded those courts, and we had people leaving because it was too long to wait between games. So then we went up to the Park and Rec and asked Jim Hoare. We said that we would help, if we could take those tennis courts up at Rouse Park. They were in terrible shape. They had gaps like this in them. and convert them into 6 pickleball courts. And he said, I think that's a great idea. He said, what is pickleball? And we explained it to him. And then Dawn Green, I don't know if she's secretary or a grant writer, but she stuck it out for 3 years, writing a grant. And finally, the 3rd year, we got a grant. We have 6 beautiful pickleball courts up at Rouse Park. Well, we're in the same position that we were in 2012. We have overgrown those courts. We have people leaving because it's taken too long to wait for a game. I used to have a court that I would give free lessons to all the time, and lately I've had to put my lessons at a different time, and then I started coming down, I went down to Centennial again, and those courts were taken by pickleball players. And there's 2 courts down there. So what we need is we need more pickleball courts. Pickleball used to be an old folks sport. That's what people thought of it as. But these celebrities have made it into a cool sport. So now people from 7 years old to 80 plus come out and play the game. The game is such a social sport. That's why people like it. Because you don't have to know 4 people to go on. You go up to the courts, you stand in between by the fence, wait for a court, the players finish playing, they say, players, you walk on that court, you don't have to know any of them. And somebody walks off and you now have met 3 new friends. And when the game's over, you switch players so that you're not playing with the same person, and you start over again. You don't have to show up on time. You can leave whenever you want to. Although, if you thought peer pressure was tough in junior high and high school, wait until you're the 4th person walking off that court and you have 3 people that still want to play one more game. And then you'll know what peer pressure is. More pickleball players are coming, and Canyon needs to be ready for them. So thank you, and I'll turn it over to Judy.
Hi, I'm Judy Van Acker, and I've been a pickleball player for about 10 years. Peg's right. Just about every time we step on the court, we're seeing new faces. And Rex Bradley has seen the same thing, and that's why he mentioned the resurfacing project at the Centennial Courts. I actually have a handout, thank you, Peg, that shows an existing, well, it was a community that took 2 tennis courts. Thank you. That took 2 tennis courts and made 6 pickleball courts out of. Rex is talking maybe 8, so, you know, whatever. There's a lot more courts that you can fit onto a tennis court. And I think the schematic there will make it. And we did the same thing at Rouse Park. They took 2 tennis courts and made 6 pickleball courts out of them. So we think that this is an ideal situation to create more pickleball courts for the community, since the infrastructure is already in place. When the courts are being resurfaced, it's just a matter of painting lines, installing nets, the fencing's there, and the lights are already there. So an easy conversion. It's also a wonderful location. It's great visibility right across from the park. I can envision people sitting in the park looking at people playing pickleball thinking, I can do that. And you know what? They can, because pickleball is such an easy sport to pick up and play. The Riverwalk is nearby, people walking, jogging, biking. We have so many beautiful activities at the park that adding pickleball courts there would just be a bonus. Plenty of parking, it's always a plus. We believe that adding pickleball courts is a wise investment, a wise return on a minimal investment. Like I said, the infrastructure is already there. Planning for a sport that is exploding onto the scene and will continue to grow exponentially. We just think it's a great opportunity for our community, for the existing players, new players, people that are passing through, staying, vacationers. I know that when I go on vacation or if I go somewhere else, I'm always looking for a pickleball court. Lastly, what's really nice is that you don't have to reinvent the wheel. any one of us here or the good folks at the Park and Rec District would be more than happy to share our experiences in creating those courts up at Rouse Park. We just believe, you guys, that this project would be a real asset to the community with minimal effort. I thank you for your time, and we have one more speaker, Mike.
Hi, my name's Mike Winey, and I'm a pickleball junkie. Peg and Judy have asked me here tonight to speak in support of the 6 new pickleball courts, but unfortunately, they're not going to like what I have to say. No new pickleball courts. Because of the efforts of Peg, Judy, and the Park and Recs District, every week I have to put up with a host of new faces coming onto my court wanting to learn this game. You ladies have to stop offering free lessons and stop organizing fun little clinics and drills. And would you please quit with the tournaments? Just because people admire our local courts, there's no reason to invite out-of-town players coming in here with their big fat wallets, spending money at our local restaurants and lodges. Pretty soon, everyone will know about Canyon City with its perfect year-round playing season and friendly, inviting local players. Please stop the madness. Sure, it's easy to learn and it only requires a $60 paddle and some tennis shoes to get started. Sure, it's an all-inclusive sport with guys, gals, young and old players mingling together in search of fresh air and exercise. So what if it's the #1 growing sport in the country for the last 5 years with a growth rate of 12% annually? What the heck do 48 million players know? And don't get me started on the celebrities. Now it's Tom Brady, Drew Brees, Michael Phelps, Bill Gates, and a host of others have taken up this game and are now creating new leagues across the country. Recently, there was an exhibition match on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. What next? The Olympics? Even the gosh darn tennis players want to get in on it now. Oh, I know it's easier on the body and much more fun than tennis, but who wants to hear John McEnroe whine about a bad call? Let's not water down all the wonderful activities that are already going on at Centennial Park. Who would ever want to play a game with a silly name like pickleball? Thanks for listening to my tongue-in-cheek report. But when I read this, the last line to me, which really appealed, or which questioned me, was, why is it so addicting? Why are people coming to this game? And if you go to the courts and you just hang out by the fence, you see people there of all ages. They are having a ball. They're laughing, they're hollering, they're cheering on their competitors. They're living in the moment. They're not worried about what's happening tomorrow, what happened yesterday, or what's happening tomorrow. They are right there. And I believe that what it is, they are enjoying it. And the key word is joy. So you, as the Visionary Committee, have a great opportunity to bring more joy into the lives of your constituents. Please vote yes for this.
Thank you. Just saying, and I'd just like to note that Councilman Dennehy joined us at 5:11. Yeah, so, Council, Tim.
Any questions?
I need to jump in here real quick because you said something that just struck it perfectly, that you didn't mind when people were late.
Exactly.
And there you go, perfect. So I just want to say, I'm a pickleball fanatic now, and I've never played in my life, but I'm right there. So, but thank you for coming, and I apologize to you guys for being late. So,
No problem.
That's all right.
Yes.
I think it's a no-brainer.
In addition to adding to the restaurants and things that way, it also helps some of us for physical therapy, because after I pulled my hamstring and had to quit playing pickleball, I haven't been back, but I'll tell you what, if I ever get back in shape, it was so much fun and I enjoyed it so much. I hope it'll intrigue me to get out there again and try it, so it is fun.
Councilmember Schmischer.
Oh, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Hamrick. Thank you so much for that really lively and engaging presentation, as well as for bringing the rackets and the ball. I did, it sounds amazing, and I certainly enjoyed the 30 seconds that I got to play beforehand, and I'm looking forward to reaching out and getting a proper free lesson. I do understand that our Parks Department director had the opportunity to talk to the Canyon City high school athletic director, and I just obviously want to make sure before we do court conversions that it wouldn't impact our high school and varsity or JV tennis teams, and just want to make sure that we're considering all of the potential uses of the court as it currently is to make sure that we're not having a negative impact on any members of our community.
Yep. And I did have the opportunity to speak with the athletic director. He was in complete support of it. It seems the tennis numbers, the kids that are playing tennis have started to decrease over the last few years. So, even they have all 4 courts at Rudd Park, and then they'll have 2 additional courts at Centennial Park for some of their JV games, and that suited him just fine. I had an opportunity to speak with we have a group of tennis players that play almost every day. They've shoveled snow off of the court to play tennis. And they had no problem with it either, and some of them are actually starting to drift into pickleball, and they'll get done playing tennis, and then they go around the fence and get in on the pickleball. And I, too, am a new pickleball addict. I started, but I did actually pull a hamstring pretty good. But the trick is you need to warm up before you play. And that's critical. Yeah.
Thank you so much for taking the time to reach out to the high school and to reach out to the current tennis players. It's really great to hear that it wouldn't have any negative impacts on any of the current user groups, and that it will actually bring more life and yet another sport to the Canyon City area, especially at Centennial Park. As you mentioned, there's so much going on there, and it's going to be wonderful to see those courts activated as well.
Mm-hmm. And just a side note, we've watched those tennis courts for several years. I was just over there before I came over here. There was nobody playing. We've noticed that if there is anybody playing, it's rare to see more than 2 courts going at the same time. I'm there every single day, and I've never seen more than 2 courts being played on. So I believe those courts are underutilized at the moment, and if we convert them to pickleball, they will be underutilized no more.
The daily players that you mentioned, are they there at Centennial Park or
Correct.
where? At Centennial Park?
They play on the south courts. If this goes through, we plan to convert the northern courts.
So we're I don't think there's anyone up here opposed to some court conversions, but I do want to make sure that we maintain the ability to have tennis courts also. Is it possible that with a tennis net, you can still have a pickleball court just through markings?
It is possible. The nets are actually a little bit lower in pickleball, I believe.
Are they really?
And they're not nearly as wide.
Right.
A pickleball court is 20 feet wide and 44 feet long. That's the actual playing surface. And then the net, I believe, is 2 or 3 inches shorter than an actual tennis net, and not nearly as wide. It's 20 feet wide.
Director Brady, please correct me if I get any of this wrong, but I believe that the plan would include leaving tennis courts at Centennial Park, so we would have both tennis options and pickleball options. And one of the main reasons why they're seeking to do a court conversion rather than just painted lines is because you could actually get 6 pickleball courts for 2 tennis courts. Did I
Correct.
get all of that?
That's right.
Yeah, we do have one kind of hurdle that I think we can overcome. At the pickleball courts up at Rouse, it's lighted from the outside, so there's no light poles in the middle of the court. But we actually have 3 light standards in the middle of the court. And I also have in my 5-year capital budget, I believe this next year, is to convert the metal halide lighting that we currently have at Centennial Park and Rudd Park into LED lighting. A 1/3 less energy consumption, brighter light, better lumens. It might be possible to convert that and maybe not need those center poles, or could move them one direction or the other to accommodate these courts. You know, the pickleball court out at Rouse is 120 by 120, and they have 6 courts, and that's what we have at Centennial. So we could put 6 courts in there. I was actually over there walking around and doing some measuring. You could actually get 8 courts in, but you would have to eliminate or somehow move those light standards out of the way, because that splits the court in half. But 6 courts minimum, 8 courts probably maximum.
Were the courts at, so we have 6 pickleball at Rouse right now?
Correct.
Were they originally tennis courts?
They were, yes.
And we converted those so that we have 6 now?
Yep,
And that was two tennis courts?
right.
And technically, that was the rec district.
That, oh, the
Yeah,
rec,
that's
the
the
rec
rec
district,
district,
that's, okay, thank you for that. But so the rec district did that, but it was 2 tennis courts, they converted to 6.
Correct.
I would just want to point out, it sounds like with grant funding, ably found by the pickleball
It was,
By Dawn
association.
Green.
yeah, it was actually a GOCO grant. Yeah.
And with pickleball growing like it has been, and I think will continue to, you know, grants are a great opportunity to look at this, because I also have in my budget in the 5-year capital outlay resurfacing the tennis courts at Rudd and Centennial as well. The courts are post-tension concrete. They're in fantastic condition, except for the surfacing, which is wore and faded, and so it's time. I think it was either 2011 or 2012 when we last resurfaced Rudd, and it's taken, you know, it hosts all the events that the high school puts on, so it gets used pretty hard. This court is in a little better shape as far as the surfacing goes, but they're both in need of resurfacing, and that might lend into this when that time comes.
Just following up on I'm sorry, Councilmember Stein. Just following up on the funding questions, I guess I'm a little bit curious as to how much it would cost, and if if you all are planning to seek grant funding for it, or if you're looking to the city to include it in the budget, or kind of what the next steps would be in terms of finances.
Do you guys have a grant writer?
We do. We have a very successful grant writer, Brandy Sheets.
Brandy Sheets? Oh, really? I just know her, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's what, I mean, we're not grant writers, but, well, my PE voice usually carries. But, yeah, Dawn Green at the Park and Rec, she's the one that wrote the grants for us, and she did it 3 years in a row. The first year we got denied, the second year, but she was like a bulldog and kept it going, and we got them. So we're hoping that you guys can get the grant writing done.
And again,
They're out there.
Yeah.
They're definitely out there.
and I would imagine she would be willing to share, you know, the process she went through. And
I'm sure. Thank you so much for that name and that information.
Okay, I started playing pickleball in the 90s, believe it or not, and it was very popular in Ohio at that time when I still lived there. And I also went through a similar situation with the town of Dillon when I worked there, like, I don't know, 10, 12 years ago before I moved here. And what happens when you do this, and I think it's a great idea, but when you do it, people who think they're tennis players will come out of the woodwork to complain. So maybe we could put something on Facebook to say, you know, to get some input before we, you know, make the final decision. Just something to say, you know, for this, a couple of weeks, let us know, you know, if there's any tennis players, if you have any objections. I don't know, what do you think? You think that'd be a good idea?
I don't think that's a bad idea at all. I think it's a good idea. And like I said, all the tennis players that I know that frequent that court, I've already spoken to. And of course, that doesn't represent every tennis player in Canyon City by any means. But those are the ones that are there every day, every single day, unless snow forces them out. And sometimes that doesn't, but they had no problem with it.
Yeah, I know you know what's going on out there, but I'm just, if we just make a decision without doing that, we're gonna.
No, and this,
Yeah.
obviously, this is something that's going to have to be budgeted for in the future.
Exactly, yeah,
And-
but maybe just a couple of weeks on Facebook or something.
Yeah, I think that's a
Yeah.
great idea. We have to have some
Thank-
public
yeah.
input on it.
Yeah, thank you.
Just to add to Councilwoman Stein's idea, perhaps we could even post signs on the north court so that for folks who aren't on Facebook, if they are tennis players and use that court, then they would have an opportunity to see it and provide input as well.
Hey,
Yeah, we could do something fun like a poll on our different social media accounts and have people like, who'd be interested in pickleball, or do you play tennis? How do you feel about pickleball? So it's more of a fun way of reaching out as opposed to like, this is what we're gonna do, and get people's true feelings about it.
Yeah. And it's also an opportunity to remind people of the other courts, the tennis courts around town as well.
Absolutely. We do have courts.
and, you know, we have 8 tennis courts currently, and after the conversion, if it happens, we would still have 6. So with, tennis seems to be declining and pickleball seems to be increasing in popularity.
So that would be 2 at Centennial and then the rest over near the high school.
Right, the only courts that would be converted are the 2 northern courts at Centennial Park.
Yes, and then the existing tennis courts would be 2 there and then the 4 over at the high school.
Correct. So the high school will have access to 6 tennis courts for their tennis program.
Okay? Other comments?
I just have one. I'm looking forward to learning this game and then really going at it with Mr. Brady here.
I'll give you a run for your money till I pull a hammy, and then I'm out.
How often do you play now, Rex?
3 or 4 times a week.
That's good. Good. That's awesome.
Yeah, and,
Plays in the evenings, what, about 5 or 6?
yep, we usually go about 6.
Okay,
I read
There
on
you
the
go.
internet that the average 160-pound person burns 250 calories in 30 minutes of pickleball.
Wow. Get your steps in, that's for sure.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah,
and
you don't have to worry about it.
What really impressed me when I started playing pickleball, I was born and raised in Canyon City and thought I knew everybody. But I meet new people every single time we go out there and play, and you make new friends. That's, I mean, instantly when you play with a couple of people you don't know, now you've just made 2 new friends, and we've already started hanging out with people that we've met at the pickleball courts that we didn't know existed, so socially, it's fantastic.
okay. Great. Ryan, do you need anything further from us on pickleball courts? I think you've heard
Yep.
favorable comments up here.
Yeah, this isn't something that would normally have a council action other than if, approving the budget and, depending if we have to put it out to bid or something along those lines. But we just want, from our standpoint, we had a citizen that wanted to make a request and have some public dialogue about it, partially for the same reason Councilmember Stein wants to put it on Facebook. We wanted to have it presented here in a public meeting so the dialogue could start and see if there's any additional feedback that we get from the community.
And we have a couple of opportunities on KRLN with your half hour and city council's half hour.
Absolutely.
If if everyone that participates in that could perhaps mention it next time that we're going to be doing this,
That'd be great.
considering that would be help get the word out.
I think we should all go play at least one game first before we get, that way we can talk about it.
That's right. You're
That gives
educated
free
about it.
lessons.
There you go.
She
Okay,
taught me-
meeting adjourned. See you on the courts.
Right now?
Well,
Any
we
other
taught Rex
comments?
how to play.
Any other comments? Then indeed, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.